After selling my patent for $17 million, I threw a big party to celebrate. But just before the toast, I saw my husband slip something into my champagne. My hands went cold, but my mind stayed sharp. When no one looked, I switched glasses with his spoiled, overbearing mother. Minutes later, she began to panic, and my quiet revenge finally started. My mother-in-law is dying on my living room floor, and I'm the only one who knows it's my husband's fault. Patricia's convulsing eyes rolled back, foam at the corners of her mouth. My husband Joshua is screaming for someone to call 911. My daughter Emma is frozen by the fireplace, her face pale with shock. 70 party guests are pulling out phones, some calling for help, others recording because that's what people do now. Me. I'm standing here holding a champagne glass, perfectly calm, watching my husband perform grief over his mother's poisoned body. The poison that was meant for me. Before we continue, if you believe in fighting back against betrayal with intelligence and strength, please consider subscribing. It's free and helps us reach more women who need to hear this. Now let's see how this unfolds. Let me back up. 30 minutes ago, this was a celebration party. My nanofiltration patent just sold for $17 million. The culmination of 3 years of basement lab work, failed prototypes, and sleepless nights. Joshua insisted we celebrate properly. Caterers, specialty cocktails, 70 guests who suddenly remembered they always believed in me. I was standing across the room when I saw him at the bar. Saw the small amber vial appear from his jacket pocket. Saw him squeeze 3 drops into my grandmother's crystal champagne flute, the chipped one I've used for every important moment since I was 18. Saw him swirl it with his pinky finger and set it back on the bar. I didn't scream. Didn't confront him. Didn't warn anyone. I walked straight to Patricia and handed her that poison glass. "You've been such an important part of this journey," I said. "You deserve something special." She took it with a confused smile. Now she's on the floor dying, and Joshua has no idea I know exactly what he did. This is where my revenge begins. But first, let me tell you about the party. About the people. About how I got here. Our Alexandria townhouse is packed wall to wall with faces I haven't seen in years. My former lab partner from MIT who stopped returning my emails when I left academia to pursue my own research. The venture capitalist who told me my project was interesting but not investable 3 years ago. My Aunt Carol who suggested I get a real job when I was burning through savings to fund prototypes. Now they're all here, drinking my expensive champagne, eating catered hors d'oeuvres, congratulating me like they always knew I'd make it. "We're so proud of you, Nicole," my Aunt Carol says, squeezing my arm with fingers heavy with rings she probably can't afford. "I always told your mother you were special." She didn't. She told my mother I was wasting my education and neglecting my daughter. But tonight everyone's rewriting history. Tonight I'm a genius, a visionary, a success story. The scientist who solved a global water purification problem and got paid $17 million for it. Joshua's been orchestrating the whole evening like a conductor. He hired the caterers himself, told me not to worry about it, that he wanted to handle everything so I could relax and enjoy my moment. He picked the menu, designed the specialty cocktails, invited people from my past I'd deliberately lost touch with. At the time I thought it was sweet, thoughtful. The supportive husband making sure his brilliant wife got the celebration she deserved. Now I understand it differently. He wasn't celebrating me. He was setting the stage, building the narrative, creating witnesses for the tragic story he planned to tell. The genius scientist who worked herself to exhaustion, whose heart gave out at her moment of triumph, who died surrounded by people who loved her. He's been working the room all evening in the designer suit I bought him last month. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, paired with Italian leather shoes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. "I need to look the part," he'd said when I questioned the expense. "When people see me with you at events, they need to know you're successful." I'd paid for it without argument. Always did. That was our arrangement. I earned the money, he managed our image. I focused on science, he focused on networking. Seemed fair. Complementary. A partnership where we each played to our strengths. Except now I'm watching him charm my former colleagues, and I'm realizing he wasn't managing our image. He was managing his future. Making connections, building relationships, ensuring that when I died tragically, he'd have a network of successful people who'd help him honor my legacy, while he spent my money. Emma's standing near the fireplace in a dress she hates. Patricia insisted on buying it for her, Cream-colored lace, too formal, too stiff, something you'd wear to a debutante ball in 1950. Emma's 12. She wants to wear jeans and her robotics club hoodie. She wants to be in her room coding or building circuits, not standing in a living room full of adults pretending to care about water filtration technology. She catches my eye across the room and makes a face, the universal preteen expression for, rescue me from this nightmare. I give her a subtle smile that says, almost done, baby. If only she knew how true that was. Patricia's positioned herself front and center, naturally, because Patricia has never encountered a spotlight she didn't want to monopolize. She's wearing a dress that probably costs more than my first research grant. Emerald green silk with subtle beading, the kind of thing you see in high-end boutique windows. Her hair's shellacked into a complicated updo that probably required 2 hours and a professional stylist. She's clutching her Hermes bag. The Birkin, the one she mentions casually in conversation so people know she owns a Birkin, like it's armor against ordinary people. And she's already dabbing at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief even though nothing emotional has happened yet. That's Patricia's signature move. Performative emotion. She cries at commercials, at church services, at restaurant meals when the ambience is particularly nice. She's practicing for a grief she hasn't experienced yet, rehearsing sorrow so it'll look authentic when she needs it. I'm watching her perform when I notice Joshua moving. He's weaving through guests, heading toward the bar we set up near the kitchen. Something about his body language catches my attention. The purposeful stride, the way his hand moves to his jacket pocket, the quick glance he throws over his shoulder. I turn slightly, keeping him in my peripheral vision while maintaining my conversation with someone whose name I've already forgotten. He reaches the bar. His back is partially to the room now. His hand disappears into his jacket pocket and emerges holding something small. A vial. Amber-colored glass. Maybe 15 milliliters. My breath stops. He uncaps it with his thumb, smooth, practiced, no fumbling, and tilts it over my grandmother's crystal champagne flute. The one with the small chip near the base that I've used for every important moment since she gave it to me at my high school graduation. For celebrating your victories, she'd said. 3 drops fall into the champagne. I count them. 1, 2, 3. He swirls the liquid with his pinky finger, mixing whatever he just added, then sets the glass back on the bar. The whole thing takes maybe 8 seconds. Then he caps the vial, slips it back into his pocket and turns around with a smile. Relaxed, casual, like a man who just checked his phone or adjusted his cufflinks. My heart's pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, but my face stays neutral. Interested in whatever the person in front of me is saying about market applications for my patent. My mind's racing through possibilities. Poison, obviously. But what kind? Fast-acting or slow? Lethal or incapacitating? Something that mimics natural causes? Joshua's not stupid. He wouldn't use anything traceable, anything that would immediately point to foul play. He'd want this to look natural. Tragic. The brilliant scientist who pushed herself too hard, whose heart gave out, who died at her moment of triumph. I catalog what I saw. The vial's size. The color. The number of drops. The way he swirled to ensure mixture. The practiced smoothness of his movements. This isn't impulse. This isn't a moment of passion or rage. This is premeditated. This is a plan. And then it hits me. The prenup. The patent. The money. We signed a prenuptial agreement 10 years ago before we got married. My attorney insisted on it because I was already working on early-stage research that could be valuable. The prenup's explicit. What's mine is mine, what's his is his. In a divorce, Joshua would get his share of marital assets. The townhouse we bought together, maybe $40,000 in joint savings, possibly limited alimony. But he wouldn't get my patent. Wouldn't get my $17 million. Wouldn't get the royalties that'll keep flowing for years. Unless I'm dead. If I die, my will, the one I wrote 5 years ago when I still believed Joshua loved me for reasons other than my earning potential, leaves everything to him. Everything. Joshua's business has been failing for 3 years. I know because I've been quietly monitoring our finances, watching the monthly losses from his consulting firm pile up. He calls himself a strategic business consultant and investment advisor, but the reality is he's been burning through $8,000 a month while generating almost no revenue. 3 years of losses totaling over $200,000. My income propping up his fantasy of being a successful entrepreneur. And Patricia. Patricia with her 2 mortgages on an underwater condo. Patricia with her BMW and her designer bags and her spa financing. Yes, she has payment plans for cosmetic procedures. Patricia who's been living beyond her means for years, maintaining appearances while drowning financially. Then there's Joshua's brother Marcus, who calls himself an alternative financing specialist but is actually a predatory lender. For months ago I overheard Joshua on the phone with him something about bridge capital and family rates, loans that come with consequences when you can't pay. The picture assembles itself in my mind with brutal clarity. They need money. I have money. But they can't access it while I'm alive. So they need me dead. And Joshua just put poison in my champagne. The toast is starting. I can see people gathering, finding spaces in the living room, turning toward the front where Joshua's business partner Derek is positioning himself. Derek, who contributed nothing to my research but will happily network off my success. Derek, who once told me I should consider a more practical career path. Joshua's moving now, heading back toward the bar, probably to ensure I pick up the right glass. The poisoned one, my grandmother's flute with the distinctive chip that everyone at this party has seen me drink from 100 times. But I'm already moving. Walking directly toward Patricia with purpose like I have something important to say. I pick up both champagne flutes from the bar as I pass. Mine with the chip and the poison, hers pristine and safe. Joshua's 3 steps behind me, close enough that I hear him inhale sharply when he realizes what I'm holding. Patricia, I say warmly, loud enough for nearby guests to hear, you've been such an important part of this journey. You deserve to toast with something special. It's not even a lie. She has been instrumental in undermining me at every family gathering, in suggesting Joshua deserved a more traditional wife, in questioning whether I was neglecting Emma by working late hours. A mother's place is with her children, she'd said at Thanksgiving, her voice dripping with judgment while I helped Emma with her science fair project via video call from Geneva. If anyone deserves to drink from the poisoned chalice of her son's greed and desperation, it's the woman who raised him to believe other people's success threatens his masculinity. Patricia looks confused for a second, probably wondering why I'm giving her my specific glass instead of letting her keep her own. But then her face rearranges itself into an expression of pleased surprise. "Oh, Nicole, how thoughtful," she says, accepting the chipped crystal flute with the air of someone receiving tribute she's always known she deserved. I take her glass. Christine. Safe. Unpoisoned. Behind me, I hear Joshua's footsteps stop. I don't turn around. I don't need to see his face to know what he's thinking. Calculating, recalibrating, trying to figure out if this is coincidence or if I somehow know. Derek clears his throat, tapping his glass with a knife. "Everyone, if I could have your attention, please." The room quiets. People turn toward the front, champagne flutes raised in anticipation. We all lift our glasses. I take the smallest possible sip. Normal champagne, slightly dry, expensive, nothing sinister. Patricia takes a generous gulp because Patricia does nothing by halves, especially when it comes to consuming things she perceives as premium. Derek launches into a speech about innovation and perseverance. People nod along. I count in my head. 30 seconds. 40. 45. Patricia's mid-sentence, saying something about how she always knew I had potential if I just applied myself properly, when her face changes. Not gradually like someone flipped a switch. Her eyes widen. Her hand flies to her throat. She makes a sound I'll hear in my nightmares. Not quite choking, more like her vocal cords are seizing. The champagne glass slips from her fingers and shatters against the hardwood floor. Her knees buckle. She drops so hard I hear the impact, the sickening crack of skull meeting wood. Which brings us back to now. To Patricia convulsing on my living room floor. To Joshua's performance of devastated son. To Emma's pale face and trembling hands. To 70 party guests with their phones out, some calling 911, others recording this tragedy for social media. And to me, standing here holding Patricia's safe glass, watching my husband grieve over the body of his mother while he has no idea I know exactly what he did. The paramedics will arrive in 7 minutes. They'll stabilize Patricia. They'll rush her to the hospital. She'll survive. I made sure of that by swapping glasses early enough that she only took one large gulp instead of finishing the glass. But Joshua doesn't know that yet. Right now he thinks his plan worked. He thinks I drank the poison. He thinks any second now I'll start showing symptoms. He keeps glancing at me between sobs, checking for signs. Trembling hands, pale face, difficulty breathing. I give him nothing. I stand here calm and steady, the concerned daughter-in-law, the brilliant scientist who's too shocked to process what's happening. And I'm thinking, this is where my revenge begins. Because I'm not just going to survive this. I'm going to document every move he makes. I'm going to build a case so airtight that when this all comes out, and it will come out, nobody will be able to deny what he tried to do. Joshua wanted me dead for my money. Instead, he's about to lose everything. The ambulance pulls away from our townhouse with lights flashing but no siren. Patricia's stable enough that they don't need to blast through red lights, but critical enough that Joshua insists on riding with her. He climbs into the back of the vehicle, still playing devastated son, his face a mask of worry that would convince anyone who didn't know what I know. The remaining guests scatter quickly after that. Nobody wants to stay at a party where someone just collapsed. They mumble condolences and well wishes, gather their coats and disappear into the November night. Within 15 minutes, our living room is empty except for the catering staff packing up untouched food and Emma standing by the fireplace still wearing that ridiculous dress. Mom. Her voice is small. Kitten. What just happened? I cross the room and pull her into a hug. She's 12 but still fits perfectly against my shoulder, still smells like the strawberry shampoo she's used since she was 6. Patricia got sick, baby. The paramedics are taking care of her. But why did she? Emma pulls back, looking up at me with those sharp hazel eyes that miss nothing. It was so fast. 1 second she was talking and then... I know. I smooth her hair back from her face. It was scary. But she's going to be okay. Emma studies my face and I can see her processing, analyzing, trying to make sense of what she witnessed. She's always been like this. Methodical, logical, unable to accept easy answers when the data doesn't add up. He gets it from me. We should go to the hospital, I say. Get your jacket. The drive to Innova Alexandria Hospital takes 23 minutes. Emma sits in the passenger seat of my Honda, silent for the first 15, staring out the window at the streetlights sliding past. I can feel her watching me in her peripheral vision, studying my profile, measuring my reactions. Mom, she finally says as we merge onto the highway, that was really weird. Yeah, baby. It was. Like, really weird. She was fine and then she just wasn't. Emma turns in her seat to face me fully. And you were so calm. Everyone else was freaking out but you just stood there like you were watching an experiment or something. My hands tighten on the steering wheel. My daughter is too observant for her own good. Sometimes when scary things happen, people react differently. Some people panic. Some people get quiet and focused. Are you okay? The fact that my 12-year-old daughter is asking me if I'm okay, the adult, the parent, the person who's supposed to have everything under control, tells me exactly how not okay the situation appears to her. I'm fine, I lie, keeping my eyes on the road. Then I make a decision. Emma's going to be questioned eventually, by family, by doctors, maybe by authorities if this goes where I think it's going. She needs to know what she saw matters. But I need you to remember everything from tonight. Everything. Can you do that? She's quiet for a moment. Then, you mean like, exactly what happened? Exactly. Who was standing where? What people said? What you saw? I glance at her quickly before returning my attention to the highway. Sometimes details matter more than people realize. Emma nods slowly and I watch her expression shift from confused child to something more serious. More adult. Yeah. I can do that. Good girl. We don't talk for the rest of the drive. But I can feel the weight of what just passed between us. The unspoken understanding that something significant happened tonight, something that requires documentation and attention and memory. In that moment, my daughter becomes my witness. Innova Alexandria Hospital's emergency room smells exactly like every hospital I've ever been in. Industrial disinfectant trying to mask the underlying scent of sickness and fear. The fluorescent lights are too bright, making everyone look pale and slightly corpse-like. There's a TV mounted in the corner playing the news on mute, and a coffee machine that looks like it hasn't been cleaned since the Clinton administration. Joshua's already here, pacing the waiting room like a caged animal. His designer suit is rumpled now, his tie loosened, his hair disarranged from running his hands through it repeatedly. He looks up when we enter and his face does something complicated, relief followed quickly by something else I can't quite name. Disappointment? Fear? Nicole. He crosses to me, pulls me into a hug that feels performative even as it's happening. Thank God you're here. I don't know what I'd do without you. Over his shoulder, I see Emma watching us with an expression that's far too knowing for a 12-year-old. How is she? I ask, pulling back from the embrace. They're running test. They won't tell me anything yet. Joshua rakes his hand through his hair again. This is insane. 1 minute she's fine, the next she's on the floor. I don't understand what happened. Skid. His voice cracks in all the right places. His body language screams devastated son. If I didn't know what I know, I'd be completely convinced. But I do know. And now I'm watching him construct his narrative in real time. He pulls out his phone, shows me the screen. I've been texting everyone. My brother Marcus, Aunt Linda, the guys from my office. Everyone's asking what happened. I glance at the messages. Mom collapsed at Nicole's party. Don't know what happened. Pray for us. The same text sent to at least 15 people. He's building his alibi, establishing his story, creating a digital record of the devoted son blindsided by his mother's mysterious collapse. Joshua sits down heavily in one of the waiting room chairs. I take the seat next to him. Emma sits on my other side, quiet but alert. A nurse walks by and Joshua calls out to her. Excuse me, do you have any updates on Patricia Whitmore? She came in about 30 minutes ago. The nurse checks her tablet. The doctor will be out to speak with you as soon as we have more information. But is she okay? Is she going to be okay? The doctor will be out soon, sir. Joshua slumps back in his chair and I watch him carefully. He keeps glancing at me, quick, furtive looks when he thinks I'm not paying attention. He's scanning me, checking my hands to see if they're trembling, studying my face for signs of distress, looking for symptoms. Because in his plan I was supposed to be the one who collapsed. I was supposed to be the one rushed to the hospital. I was supposed to be the one dying while he played the role of devastated husband. A man in scrubs walks by pushing an empty wheelchair. A woman in the corner coughs wetly into a tissue. The TV silently shows footage of a car accident on the Beltway. And Joshua keeps watching me, waiting for me to show signs that the poison is working. I just don't understand what happened, he says to a passing orderly. She was fine 1 minute. 10 minutes later he says it again to an elderly couple sitting across from us. I just don't understand what happened. She was completely fine. Another 10 minutes and he's repeating it to the intake nurse. I just don't understand what happened. 1 minute she was fine. I count 5 repetitions in the first 30 minutes we're there. Each time his voice has the same quality, confused, devastated, desperate for answers. When someone repeats themselves that much, it's not shock processing trauma. It's rehearsal. It's making sure the story stays consistent because inconsistency is how people get caught. It's building a narrative that will hold up under scrutiny. I sit quietly beside him, my face a mask of appropriate concern, while my mind catalogs every inconsistency, every calculated gesture, every performance beat. Emma sits on my other side, also watching, also learning. Also seeing that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you are the most dangerous. A doctor emerges after 40 minutes, late 30s, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she's been on shift too long, wearing scrubs that have seen better days. She's carrying a tablet and wearing an expression that's carefully neutral. Family of Patricia Whitmore? Joshua's on his feet immediately. Yes, that's my mother. Is she okay? What happened? The doctor glances between us and I see her measuring, assessing who to address. Your mother is stable. We've begun treatment and she's responding well. Oh, thank God. Joshua's relief appears genuine. Maybe it is genuine. His mother wasn't supposed to be the one poisoned after all. What was it? What happened to her? The doctor chooses her words carefully, watching our faces. We're still running a full panel, but preliminary toxicology results suggest possible alkaloid poisoning. Specifically, something consistent with aconite or a similar neurotoxin. The word hangs in the air like smoke. Poisoning. Joshua's face goes through a series of expressions. Confusion, shock, disbelief. Poisoning? That's impossible. How would she? He trails off, looking genuinely shaken. I step forward calmly. She only had 1 sip of champagne at our house, doctor. Maybe 2 at most. Super fast reaction, right? Like under a minute. The doctor nods slowly, her eyes moving to me with interest. Yes, that timeline is consistent with acute poisoning from a concentrated source. If it was ingested, It would have been in whatever she consumed most recently. You think it was the champagne? Joshua's voice rises slightly. That's insane. Everyone was drinking champagne at the party. Nobody else got sick. I watch his eyes as he says it. For a fraction of a second, less than a heartbeat, they flick to me. Calculating. Assessing. Trying to understand what happened. Then he recovers and the mask of confused sun slides back into place. Yeah, I say, giving him a small friendly smile. Insane. The doctor explains that Patricia will be kept overnight for observation, that they're running a complete toxicology panel, that they need to monitor her cardiac function and neurological responses. With this type of poisoning we have to be thorough. The compound you mentioned, aconite, it's not something we see often. It's highly toxic, fast-acting. She's lucky she didn't consume more. Lucky. The word echoes in my head. Patricia's lucky because I made sure she only took one large gulp before the symptoms hit. If I'd waited longer, if I'd let her finish the glass, she might not have been so lucky. Joshua asks more questions. Treatment protocols, recovery timeline, visiting hours. The doctor answers patiently, professionally. Then she excuses herself, promising to update us as soon as they have more information. The moment she's gone, Joshua sits back down beside me. He puts his hand on my knee. Supportive husband gesture, the physical vocabulary of partnership and concern. I'm so glad you're here, he says softly, looking into my eyes with an expression that would melt hearts if those hearts didn't know what I know. I don't know what I'd do without you. That's when it clicks into place with perfect crystalline clarity. He's not relieved his mother survived. He's confused that she collapsed instead of me. And now he's scanning me for symptoms, checking to see if maybe I drank from that glass too, if maybe the poison is working slower in my system, if maybe his plan is still salvageable. He's looking at my hands to see if they're trembling, studying my face for pallor or distress, watching my breathing for signs of respiratory difficulty. He's waiting for me to collapse. Because in his mind I was supposed to be the one on that stretcher. I was supposed to be the one with the toxicology report and the uncertain prognosis. I was supposed to be the one dying while he played grieving widower and inherited $17 million. I squeeze his hand back, matching his concerned expression. We'll get through this. Together. He smiles, genuine relief washing over his face, and in that smile I see everything. He thinks he's safe. He thinks I don't know. He thinks the glass swap was coincidence, that I have no idea what he put in my champagne, that he still has time to adjust his plan and try again. What he doesn't know, what he can't possibly know yet, is that my mind has already shifted from shock to surgical, from reactive to strategic. I'm not just going to survive this. I'm going to document every single move he makes. Every lie. Every inconsistency. Every calculated gesture. And when this all comes out, and it will come out, nobody will be able to deny what he tried to do. Emma shifts beside me and I feel her small hand slip into mine. She squeezes once, a silent message of solidarity. Joshua's phone buzzes with another text. He reads it, types a response, his thumbs moving quickly across the screen. Building his narrative. Spreading his story. Creating the fiction of the devoted son and loving husband caught in a tragic, inexplicable emergency. I sit there holding my daughter's hand, watching my husband perform concern while planning my murder. And I'm thinking, you have no idea what you've started. We get home just after midnight. Emma's exhausted, the adrenaline from the evening finally wearing off. She changes into pajamas without being asked, brushes her teeth and climbs into bed without her usual negotiations about screen time or one more chapter. "Night, Mom," she mumbles, already half asleep. I kiss her forehead, pull her blanket up and stand in her doorway for a moment watching her breathe. My daughter. Safe. Unaware of just how close she came to losing me tonight. Unaware that the man she calls her stepdad tried to kill her mother. Joshua's still at the hospital. He texted an hour ago saying he wanted to stay until Patricia was moved to a regular room, that he'd get a ride home from his brother Marcus. I responded with a supportive message about taking all the time he needs, being there for his mother, how I'd make sure Emma got to bed safely. The perfect wife. The understanding partner. The woman who has no idea her husband just tried to murder her. I close Emma's door quietly and walk down the hallway to my home office. The room that used to be a guest bedroom before I converted it into my workspace 5 years ago. Desk facing the window, filing cabinets along one wall, bookshelves crammed with research papers and technical manuals. My laptop sits exactly where I left it this morning. A lifetime ago, before the party, before the poison, before everything changed. I lock the door behind me, sit down in my chair, and start pulling threads. The financial kind. The kind that unravel entire lives when you tug them with enough force. I open my laptop and navigate to my bank account. The patent sale closed 3 days ago. $17 million sitting in my personal checking account, waiting to be properly distributed into investments and trusts. The number still doesn't feel real. I keep expecting to see a decimal point in the wrong place, an extra zero that shouldn't be there. But it's real. It's mine. And according to the documents sitting in my email inbox, it's mine legally, solely, completely. I pull up the operating agreement for my LLC, the company I formed 6 years ago when my research moved from theoretical to potentially profitable. Joshua isn't listed anywhere. Not as a member, not as an officer, not even as an interested party. When we married 10 years ago, my attorney, a sharp woman named Margaret Chin who'd helped me file my first provisional patent, sat me down and said 5 words that saved my life tonight. Protect your intellectual property. Always. So I did. I kept my research separate. Formed my LLC before the wedding. Made sure every patent filing, every licensing agreement, every contract was in my name alone. At the time, Joshua had been supportive. Of course, he'd said. Your work is yours. I'd never try to take credit for what you've built. He'd even suggested we get a prenup to make everything crystal clear. Just to protect both of us, he'd said. So there's never any question. I thought it was mature. Responsible. The mark of a partnership built on respect and independence. Now I understand it differently. He wasn't protecting both of us. He was making sure that in a divorce he wouldn't get my patent, my money, my success. Because he was already planning for my death instead. I pull up our prenuptial agreement. 23 pages of legal language that boils down to this. What's mine is mine, what's his is his. In a divorce, Joshua would get his share of marital assets. The townhouse we bought together, currently worth about $600,000 with $400,000 still owed on the mortgage. Our joint savings account with $42,000. Possibly limited alimony for a few years since I've been the primary earner. But he doesn't get my patent. Doesn't get my $17 million. Doesn't get the royalty stream that'll generate another $2 to $3 million over the next decade. Unless I'm dead. I navigate to my documents folder and open my will. Last updated 5 years ago, shortly after Emma's 7th birthday. I remember sitting in Margaret's office, discussing guardianship arrangements and asset distribution, trying to think about mortality in abstract terms that wouldn't keep me up at night. The language is clear. In the event of my death, everything goes to Joshua as my surviving spouse. The townhouse, the savings, the patents, the royalties, the life insurance policy worth another $2 million. Everything. I wrote that when I still believed Joshua loved me for reasons other than my earning potential. When I thought we were partners building a life together. When I trusted him with my daughter, my home, my future. That will is still active. Still legally binding. Because I haven't updated it since the patent sale, haven't revised it to reflect my new financial reality, haven't changed anything. If I'd died tonight, if Patricia hadn't drunk that poison instead of me, Joshua would have inherited everything. $17 million plus royalties plus life insurance plus property. $19 million, give or take, all his. My hands are shaking. I force them still, press my palms flat against the desk and focus on breathing. In for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Out for 4. The technique I learned in graduate school when panic attacks threatened to derail my dissertation defense. I can't afford panic right now. I need clarity. I need information. I need to understand exactly what I'm dealing with. I open a new browser tab and navigate to Joshua's LinkedIn profile. Strategic business consultant and investment advisor, reads his headline. His profile picture shows him in a suit, arms crossed, confident smile. His summary is filled with buzzwords: synergistic solutions, value optimization, strategic growth partnerships. It looks impressive, professional, successful. I open our joint credit card statements, the ones that come to my email because I'm the primary card holder. Start scrolling through the charges from the past 3 months. Lunches at expensive restaurants with potential clients. Office supplies from Staples. Software subscriptions for project management tools. A website domain renewal for strategicgrowthadvisors.com. Then I pull up our joint checking account. The one I deposit money into every month to cover household expenses. I've been putting in $6,000 monthly. Enough for the mortgage, utilities, groceries, Emma's activities. Joshua's supposed to contribute $3,000 from his business income. Except his contributions have been getting smaller. $2,000 last month. $1,500 the month before. $800 in September. Nothing in August. I open a spreadsheet and start tracking. Pull up 12 months of statements. Start categorizing expenses. His business lunches, averaging $1,200 monthly. His office expenses, $800 monthly. His business development charges, another $1,000 monthly. 3 years of data paints a picture that makes my stomach clench. His consulting firm isn't generating income. It's hemorrhaging money. Monthly losses averaging $8,000. 3 years of losses totaling over $200,000. My income has been subsidizing his fantasy of being a successful entrepreneur. Every deposit I made into our joint account, every credit card payment I covered, every time I paid the mortgage because his invoices were delayed, all of it was propping up a business that doesn't actually exist. I find a folder on our shared drive labeled Business Docs Joshua. Open it. Inside are loan applications he never mentioned. A line of credit for $30,000. Maxed out. Credit card cash advances at 23% interest. Late payment notices from vendors I've never heard of. And emails. Dozens of emails between Joshua and his brother Marcus. I open the most recent thread, dated 4 months ago. Marcus, you're in deep, man. That bridge loan comes due in December. 40 grand plus interest. You got it? Joshua, I'm working on it. Nicole's patent deal is getting close. Marcus, getting close doesn't pay my money back. You need a plan. Joshua, I have a plan. Trust me. Marcus, your plans haven't exactly been profitable so far. Remember the crypto thing? The app development thing? You're 0 for 6, brother. Joshua, this is different. This is solid. Just give me until end of year. Marcus, end of year then we have a problem. Family rates only go so far. I sit back in my chair, my heart hammering. Marcus isn't just a predatory lender. He's Joshua's creditor. Joshua owes his brother $40,000 with interest, due in December. 6 weeks from now. I open another email thread. This one between Joshua and his mother Patricia. Patricia, the condo people are threatening foreclosure again. I need at least $15,000 to catch up on the second mortgage. Joshua, Mom, I told you I can't keep doing this. I have my own problems. Patricia, you're my son. Family helps family. When your father was alive. Joshua, Dad left you in debt because he couldn't say no to you. I'm not making the same mistake. Patricia, so you're going to let them take my home? After everything I've done for you? Joshua, I'm working on something. Big money coming. Just hold on until December. Patricia, I don't have until December. I have until the end of this month. Joshua, then figure it out. Get another credit card. Borrow from Aunt Linda. I can't help you right now. I keep reading. Keep pulling threads. The picture that emerges is devastating in its clarity. Patricia has 2 mortgages on a condo in Fairfax that's worth less than she owes. She's 3 months behind on the second mortgage, facing foreclosure. She has a BMW X5 with $900 monthly payments she can barely afford. Credit cards maxed at over $60,000 across 5 different banks. Medical financing for cosmetic procedures. Botox, fillers, something called a non-surgical facelift, that cost $8,000. She's been living beyond her means for years, maintaining the appearance of wealth while drowning financially. And she's been pressuring Joshua to bail her out. Joshua, who's drowning in his own debt. Who owes his brother $40,000. Who's been hemorrhaging money on a fake consulting business for 3 years. Who has no way out. Until I sold my patent for $17 million. Money he can't access in a divorce because of our prenup. Money that's legally solely mine. Money that would solve every financial problem he and his mother have. Unless I'm dead. The realization hits me with physical force. I'm not Nicole the wife. I'm not Nicole the partner. I'm Nicole the solution. I'm the ATM that just needs to stop functioning so they can make a withdrawal. My death isn't personal. It's not about love or betrayal or anger. It's mathematics. It's a spreadsheet where my death shows up in the assets column and solves every problem in the liabilities column. Joshua's business debt. Patricia's foreclosure. Marcus's loan. All of it disappears if I die and Joshua inherits $17 million. This wasn't passion. This wasn't rage. This was planning. Desperation. Maybe even family conspiracy. Patricia knew about Joshua's financial problems, knew about the patent sale, knew that my death would save her condo and her lifestyle. Did she know about the poison? Did she participate? Or was she just a beneficiary who chose not to ask too many questions? I open a new document and start typing. Creating a timeline. Documenting everything I found. Bank statements, email threads, loan documents, credit card balances. I screenshot everything, save it to a cloud drive that only I can access, password protect the files. By the time I'm done, the sky outside my window is turning gray with pre-dawn light. I've been in my office for 4 hours. My back aches. My eyes burn. My hands are cramped from typing. But I have a complete financial picture of why my husband tried to kill me tonight. And I make myself a promise, there in my office as the sun begins to rise. They will not win this. They plan my death like a business transaction. Now I'll dismantle their lives like a research project. Methodically. Completely. With documentation that can't be disputed. I close my laptop. Unlock my office door. Walk quietly to the kitchen and start making coffee. When Joshua gets home an hour later, I'm sitting at the kitchen table reading the news on my tablet, freshly showered, looking like a woman who slept peacefully through the night. "How's Patricia?" I ask, my voice full of concern. He looks exhausted. Defeated. Stable. They're keeping her another day for observation. That's good. I'm glad she's okay. I stand up, pour him coffee, hand it to him like the supportive wife I'm pretending to be. "You must be exhausted. Why don't you get some sleep?" He takes the coffee. Studies my face. Still looking for symptoms. Still waiting for me to collapse. "Yeah," he says finally. "Yeah, I think I will." He heads upstairs. I hear the bedroom door close. And I sit back down at the kitchen table sipping my coffee, thinking about spreadsheets and poison and the price of greed. They need me dead. But I'm very much alive. And now I know exactly why they're desperate enough to kill. I wait until Joshua's bedroom door closes and I hear the shower start running before I pull out my phone. My hands are steadier than they should be. Maybe shock, maybe adrenaline, maybe the cold clarity that comes from understanding exactly what you're dealing with. I scroll through my contacts and find Margaret Chen's number. My attorney. The woman who saved my intellectual property 10 years ago. The woman who's about to save my life. It's 6 in the morning. Most people would wait until business hours. But Margaret isn't most people, and this isn't a situation that can wait for business hours. She answers on the second ring. "Nicole." Her voice is alert, no trace of sleep. "Everything okay?" "No." I keep my voice low. Move to the far corner of the kitchen where the water pipes in the walls will muffle any sound from upstairs. "I need help. Legal help. Today." There's a brief pause. I hear what sounds like a coffee maker in the background, the rustle of papers. "Tell me." So I do. I tell her everything. The celebration party. The small amber vial I saw Joshua pull from his jacket. The 3 drops he squeezed into my grandmother's champagne flute. The way I switched glasses with Patricia. Her collapse. The hospital. The toxicology report confirming alkaloid poisoning. The financial investigation I conducted last night. Joshua's mounting debts, Patricia's foreclosure, Marcus's predatory loans. The mathematical calculation that makes my death worth $19 million. Margaret doesn't interrupt. Doesn't gasp. Doesn't express shock or disbelief. She just listens with the focused intensity of someone who's heard terrible things before and knows how to respond to them. When I finish, there's a pause. Then, "Okay, we're going into full defense mode. Today." Her voice is steady. Clinical. Exactly what I need. Not sympathy or horror but strategy. "First thing," she continues, and I can hear her typing now, rapid-fire keystrokes. "We need to establish your cognitive competency with an independent evaluation. If Joshua's desperate enough to poison you, he's desperate enough to try having you declared incompetent. Get you into a conservatorship or guardianship situation where he controls your assets and medical decisions." My stomach clenches. Can he do that? If he can convince a judge you're declining mentally or making irrational decisions, yes. It's been done before. Usually with elderly relatives, but the law applies to anyone. And with 17 million on the line, he'll try. She pauses. I'm calling Dr. Sarah Feldman. She's a neuropsychologist who specializes in competency evaluations. She's testified in 75 conservatorship cases. Her assessments are legally bulletproof. Can you be at her office by 9? I glance at the clock. 3 hours. Yes. Good. I'll text you the address. Bring your driver's license and insurance card. The evaluation will take 3 to 4 hours. She'll test memory, cognitive function, decision-making capacity, everything. At the end, you'll have legally binding documentation that you're fully competent to manage your own affairs. Okay. I'm taking notes on a paper towel with a pen from the junk drawer. What else? Estate planning. Your current will leaves everything to Joshua. We need to change that immediately. I'm drafting new documents today. Irrevocable trusts that exclude Joshua and Patricia by name, family trust with Emma as beneficiary, corporate trustee managing everything. Joshua won't be able to touch your assets even if something happens to you. The relief that floods through me is almost physical. How fast can we do this? Documents drafted by end of day. Signing tomorrow morning. Effective immediately. More typing. I'm also placing fraud alerts on all your financial accounts. Letters to every bank explaining that there have been attempted fraudulent transactions and that no changes should be processed without direct confirmation from both you and me. We make it so complicated to access your money that he'd need a court order. I hear the shower shut off upstairs. Joshua will be down soon. There's one more thing, I say quietly. I need evidence. Right now it's my word against his about what I saw. I need documentation of what he's doing. Security cameras, Margaret says immediately. I know a company. They can install today, cameras in your office, bedroom, common areas. Motion activated, cloud backed, admissible in court. If he tries anything else, we'll have it on video. Do it. And Nicole. Her voice softens slightly. You need to act completely normal. Don't confront him. Don't let him know you suspect anything. Just document everything and let me handle the legal work. Can you do that? I think about sitting across from Joshua at dinner tonight. Sleeping in the same house. Pretending everything is fine while knowing he tried to kill me. Yes. I can do that. Good. Text me when you're on your way to Dr. Feldman's office. And Nicole, you did the right thing calling me. Dr. Sarah Feldman's office is in a medical building in Bethesda, 40 minutes from my house. I tell Joshua I'm going to check on some lab equipment issues. A lie that comes more easily than it should. He barely looks up from his phone, just nods and says he'll probably sleep most of the day. Dr. Feldman is maybe 55, with silver hair cut in a precise bob and glasses that make her look like she should be in a library catalog. Her office is book-lined and quiet, with 2 comfortable chairs and a desk covered in assessment materials. Margaret explained the situation, she says after we've settled. I want you to know that this evaluation is completely objective. I'm not here to prove anything except your actual cognitive state. Whatever that is. I understand. Good. Let's begin. The next 3 hours are the most mentally exhausting of my life. She starts with memory tests, gives me lists of words to repeat back immediately, then asks for them again 5 minutes later, then 20 minutes later. Some lists I remember perfectly. Others I stumble on, mixing up order or forgetting words entirely. That's normal, she assures me. No one has perfect recall. She moves to problem solving. Shows me patterns of shapes and numbers, asks me to identify what comes next. Some are obvious. Others require real thought, the kind of pattern recognition I use in research when data doesn't make immediate sense. Then spatial reasoning. She gives me complex figures to copy. Clock faces to draw showing specific times. 3-dimensional puzzles to mentally rotate. Count backward from 100 by 7s, she says, pen poised over her notes. 100. 93. 86. 79. I continue until I reach 2, my brain working overtime to track the math while managing the stress of being evaluated. She asks about current events. Who's the president? Who are the Virginia senators? What major news stories have dominated headlines recently? Geography questions. Capital of France. Location of the Nile River. Which countries border Germany? Explain this proverb to me. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. It means you shouldn't criticize others for flaws you have yourself. If you're vulnerable, don't attack. She nods, writes something. Moves to the next one. What does it mean when someone says, "Don't cry over spilled milk"? Don't waste time being upset about things that already happened and can't be changed. Move forward instead of dwelling on mistakes. More tests. Similarities and differences. How are an apple and an orange alike? How are they different? Logical reasoning. If all bloops are razzles and all razzles are lazzles, are all bloops definitely lazzles? My brain feels like it's being wrung out. But I push through, answer every question, complete every task. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Dr. Feldman sets down her pen. We're done with the assessment portion. Let me score these and then we'll talk. She works in silence for 15 minutes, entering numbers into a computer program, checking references against standardized tables. I sit in the quiet office, listening to the clock tick on the wall, wondering if my entire future hangs on pattern recognition and backward counting. All right. She turns to face me and her expression is neutral but not unkind. Based on this evaluation, you show no signs of cognitive impairment. Your memory is excellent, within the 95th percentile for your age group. Your reasoning and problem-solving skills are exceptional, which makes sense given your scientific background. Your spatial awareness is above average. Your knowledge base is strong. There is absolutely no indication of dementia, declining mental capacity, or any condition that would prevent you from managing your own affairs. The relief is so intense I feel dizzy. So if someone tried to claim I wasn't competent, this evaluation would stop that claim immediately. She prints out a document, signs it with a flourish and hands it to me. This is legally binding medical documentation that you are fully capable of making your own decisions. Financial, medical, personal. I'm sending a notarized copy to Margaret as well. I take the document with shaking hands. Thank you. You're welcome. She pauses. Margaret told me someone may be targeting you financially. I don't usually say this, but be careful, Dr. Whitmore. People do terrible things for money. I know, I say quietly. I'm learning exactly how terrible. By the time I get home, it's after 2 in the afternoon. Joshua's awake, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, surrounded by papers that he hastily closes when I walk in. How's the lab equipment? He asks. Fixed. Just a calibration issue. The lie comes easily now. I'm getting good at this. The performance of normalcy, the acting required to survive in your own home. My phone buzzes. A text from Margaret. Security company will be there at 4 p.m. Tell Joshua they're installing an upgraded security system. I've already handled the payment. I glance up at Joshua. Oh, by the way, I scheduled a security company to come this afternoon. Upgrade the system. With all the news coverage about the patent sale, Margaret thought it would be smart to beef up protection. Joshua nods slowly. Good idea. Can't be too careful. Oh, I think watching him. You really can't. The security technician arrives at 4 exactly. A professional woman named Kim who speaks quietly with Joshua about cameras and motion sensors while actually installing exactly what Margaret specified. Cameras in my office that Joshua can't see. Cameras in the bedroom angled to capture both nightstands. Cameras in the kitchen covering the coffee maker, the glasses, the water dispenser. Every entry point. Every vulnerable moment. Every opportunity for Joshua to try again. By the time Kim leaves at 6:30, our house is wired for surveillance. And Joshua has no idea that every move he makes is now being recorded, time-stamped, and backed up to a cloud server that only Margaret and I can access. That evening I start keeping a journal. A detailed, time-stamped record of everything. What Joshua says. How he acts. When he leaves the house. Who he calls. Every suspicious moment. Every strange interaction. Every calculated gesture. I'm not just protecting myself anymore. I'm building a case. Collecting data. Documenting evidence. Because Joshua didn't marry a victim. He married a scientist. And scientists know how to run experiments, collect data, and prove hypotheses. His hypothesis. I'm worth more dead than alive. My hypothesis. I'm going to systematically dismantle his life the same way he tried to end mine. And by the time I'm done, he'll wish he'd never bought that vial of poison. The security cameras go live at 7 the next morning. I'm sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee when Margaret texts me confirmation. System active. All feeds recording to secure cloud storage. Access codes sent to your encrypted email. Joshua's still asleep upstairs. Emma's at school. The house is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of old wood settling. I open my laptop and navigate to the encrypted email Margaret mentioned. Inside are access codes, passwords, and a link to the security portal. I click through and suddenly I'm looking at 6 different camera feeds showing various angles of our home. My office. The bedroom. The kitchen. The living room. All empty right now but ready to capture whatever happens next. Margaret calls 10 minutes later. Good morning. How are you holding up? I'm okay. It's not entirely true but it's functional. What's the next step? The next step is we create something irresistible for Joshua to find. Something that makes him think he's figured out how to access your money. She pauses and I hear the sound of traffic in the background. She's in her car, probably heading to the office. I'm calling it the honeypot protocol. We're going to set a trap that's so perfect he won't be able to resist taking the bait. I'm listening. Meet me at SunTrust in Tyson's Corner at 10. Bring your driver's license. We're opening a new account. The bank is quiet on a Thursday morning. A few elderly customers, a young couple opening what looks like their first joint account, a businessman in a suit conducting some transaction at the counter. Margaret's already there when I arrive, sitting in one of the waiting area chairs with her briefcase on her lap. Right on time, she says, standing. Let's do this. A bank representative, a woman named Sharon with kind eyes and a practiced smile, leads us to her desk. Margaret does most of the talking, explaining that I need a new checking account for estate planning purposes. Sharon nods along, pulls up forms on her computer, asks for my identification. 20 minutes later I have a new checking account at SunTrust. Account number ending in 7392. Current balance, $50. Exactly 50? I ask Margaret as we walk back to our cars. Exactly 50. Enough to look legitimate, not enough to actually matter. If someone tries to transfer money from this account, they'll be attempting to steal $50 instead of $17 million. But the crime is the same: unauthorized access, attempted theft, fraud. The amount doesn't change the charges. She pulls a folder from her briefcase and hands it to me. These are your fake estate planning documents. Power of attorney that grants access to account 7392 and nothing else. Financial summary listing fake accounts with fake balances. The only real account number is the SunTrust one with $50. I flip through the documents. They look completely legitimate. Proper legal language, formatted correctly, official-looking stamps and signatures. He'll think this is real. That's the point. And buried in Section 14, subsection D, in language that requires a law degree to understand, it says that any attempt to exceed the authority granted in this document constitutes fraud and nullifies the agreement. So if he tries to access anything other than the SunTrust account, he's committing a crime. And if he tries to take money from the SunTrust account without your authorization, he's also committing a crime. What about the fake accounts? Won't he try to access those? Margaret smiles. It's not a pleasant smile. That's where it gets interesting. Come back to my office. I want to show you something. Margaret's office is in a converted brownstone in Arlington, 20 minutes from the bank. Her conference room has a large screen mounted on the wall, currently displaying what looks like a brokerage login page. This, Margaret says, gesturing to the screen, is a fake website that looks exactly like your actual brokerage portal. Same logo, same layout, same login page. But it's not real. It's a honeypot designed to log every attempt to access it. I step closer to the screen. It's remarkably convincing, identical to the real portal I use to check my investment accounts. How does it work? My IT consultant built it. It's hosted on a secure server. When someone enters the fake login credentials we're including in your estate planning documents, the site will appear to let them in. They'll see fake account balances matching the numbers on the financial summary. If they try to initiate a transaction, say a wire transfer, the site will appear to process it. But instead it's logging everything. IP address, device fingerprint, timestamp, exact amount they're trying to transfer, destination account, everything. So when Joshua tries to steal my money, he'll create a complete record of attempted fraud without even knowing it. Every click, every transaction, every move he makes will be documented and admissible in court. I sink into one of the conference room chairs. The elegance of it is almost beautiful. He'll think he's being clever, accessing my accounts without me knowing, moving money around. Exactly. And the whole time he'll be building the case against himself. Margaret sits across from me. But this only works if he finds the documents and believes they're real. Which means you need to leave them somewhere he'll definitely look, but not somewhere so obvious that he gets suspicious. My filing cabinet, I say immediately. In my office. He's gone through it before. I've noticed things moved, papers in slightly different order. He thinks I don't pay attention to details like that. Perfect. Put the folder in there labeled, Estate Planning Confidential, under E. Make it look like something you filed away and forgot about. She hands me the folder, forest green, professional looking, exactly the kind of thing I'd use for important documents. Inside are the fake power of attorney, the fake financial summary, and a printed sheet with login credentials for the Honeypot website. One more thing, Margaret says. You need to act completely normal. Don't change your routine. Don't act suspicious or paranoid. Just go about your life like nothing's wrong. Can you do that? I think about sitting across from Joshua at dinner tonight. Sleeping in the same house. Maintaining the fiction that I trust him, that I have no idea what he tried to do. Yes. I can do that. Good. Because the moment he realizes, this whole thing falls apart. He'll destroy evidence, change his story, maybe even run. We need him to feel safe. To think he's getting away with it. I put the folder in my filing cabinet that afternoon, positioned exactly where someone searching would find it. Then I go about my day. Make dinner. Help Emma with her homework. Watch TV like a normal person whose husband didn't recently try to poison her. Joshua comes home around 6, claims he spent the day at his office. I don't ask what work he was doing because I already know the answer. No actual work, just more performance of being a successful consultant. How's Patricia? I ask over dinner. Better. They're releasing her tomorrow. He pushes food around his plate. The doctors still don't know what caused it. Some kind of toxin, but they can't identify the source. That's scary, I say, my voice full of appropriate concern. I'm just glad she's okay. Yeah. Me too. He glances at me and there's something in his expression I can't quite read. Calculation maybe. Assessment. Actually, I've been thinking. With everything that's happened, your patent sale, mom's collapse, all the stress. Maybe we should review our estate planning. Make sure everything's in order. My stomach clenches, but I keep my face neutral. That's probably smart. I should call Margaret anyway, update my will now that the money's cleared. Right. Exactly. He nods enthusiastically. Too enthusiastically. Just to make sure everything's protected. For Emma, in case anything ever happened to either of us. Good idea, I say, knowing exactly what he's really thinking. He wants to know if I've changed my will yet. If I've removed him as beneficiary. If his window of opportunity is closing. After dinner, I retreat to my office claiming I need to catch up on emails. Joshua says he's going to watch TV. I sit at my desk with my laptop open, but what I'm really doing is watching the security camera feeds on my phone. At 9:47 p.m., the motion sensor in my office triggers even though I'm in the guest bedroom. I switch to the camera feed. There's Joshua, illuminated by my desk lamp, standing in front of my filing cabinet. My heart starts pounding, but I force myself to stay still. To watch. To document. He opens the drawer, the one labeled with letters E through L. His hand goes immediately to the green folder. He pulls it out, glances toward the door to make sure no one's coming, and starts flipping through the contents. His expression shifts from curious to focused. He pulls out his phone and starts photographing pages. The power of attorney. The financial summary showing fake accounts with millions of dollars. The login credentials for the Honeypot website. He's methodical about it. Makes sure he gets clear shots of everything. Zooms in on account numbers and passwords. He has no idea that every movement is being recorded in high definition, that the camera angle captures not just what he's doing but the calculation in his expression, the practiced smoothness of his movements. This isn't impulse. This isn't desperation making him reckless. This is planned. Careful. The actions of someone who's done this before, who's thought through exactly what he needs and how to get it without being caught. He photographs the last page, puts the folder back exactly where he found it, closes the drawer and leaves my office. I watch him walk down the hallway, his posture relaxed, his expression satisfied. He thinks he just found the keys to my fortune. What he actually found is the evidence that's going to destroy him. I screenshot the footage showing him at the filing cabinet, save it to my encrypted cloud storage and text Margaret. He took the bait. 9:47 p.m. Video captured. Her response comes 30 seconds later. Perfect. Don't engage. I'm monitoring the honeypot site. If he tries to log in, I'll know immediately. I don't have to wait long. At 10:14 p.m., my phone pings with an alert from Margaret. Login attempt. IP address matches your home network. User accessing fake account 7392. User viewing fake balance. User attempting to initiate wire transfer. Another message. Amount, $3,200. Destination. Account ending in 8847. That's a SunTrust account in Joshua's name. He's literally trying to transfer money from your account to his. I screenshot the alerts, add them to my evidence folder and feel something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Not quite satisfaction. Not quite vindication. Something darker. Joshua isn't just desperate. He's stupid. He photographed documents and attempted fraud within 2 hours. He couldn't even wait. Couldn't be cautious. His greed made him reckless. And that recklessness just created a complete prosecutorial exhibit. Margaret texts again. Transaction logged. IP address, device fingerprint, timestamp, amount, destination. Everything. This is textbook fraud. Wire fraud, identity theft, unauthorized access. Combined with the poisoning evidence, we have him. I text back. What now? Now we call the police. I'm contacting Detective Ramirez first thing tomorrow morning. But tonight you act like nothing happened. Go to bed. Sleep if you can. Don't confront him. Don't let him know anything's wrong. Nicole. He did good. This is exactly what we needed. I set my phone down and sit in the quiet guest bedroom, listening to the sounds of my house. The hum of the heating system. The distant noise of the TV downstairs where Joshua's probably watching something innocuous, thinking he just secured his financial future. He has no idea that in less than 12 hours, Detective Ramirez will be reviewing evidence of attempted murder and fraud. That every document he photographed was fake. That every transaction he tried to initiate was logged and recorded. He thinks he's the predator. But he's about to learn he's been the prey all along. I barely sleep that night. Every creak of the house settling makes me tense. Every sound from the hallway makes me wonder if Joshua's awake. If he's realized something's wrong, if he's planning his next move. At 6 in the morning, Margaret texts. Detective Ramirez will be at your house at 9 a.m. Joshua needs to be gone. Can you make that happen? I text back. Yes. Joshua's already awake when I go downstairs, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He closes it quickly when I enter, guilty reflex that he tries to mask by standing and pouring me coffee. Morning, he says, handing me the mug. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Not a lie. I was thinking I might take Emma to breakfast before school. Just the two of us. We haven't had quality time lately. His face does something complicated. Relief maybe mixed with something else. That's a great idea. She'd love that. What about you? Any plans this morning? I'm meeting Marcus. We're supposed to go over some business stuff. He glances at his watch. Actually, I should probably head out soon if I want to beat traffic. Perfect. Hey. Tell Marcus I said hi. 20 minutes later, Joshua's gone. I wake Emma, tell her we're having a special breakfast at the diner she loves, and watch her face light up with uncomplicated joy. Sometimes I forget she's still just a kid despite everything she's witnessed. We're back home by 8:30. Emma heads to her room to finish getting ready for school. I'm in the kitchen washing dishes when my doorbell rings at exactly 9 o'clock. Detective Maria Ramirez stands on my porch wearing plain clothes. Dark jeans, a blazer, sensible shoes. She's maybe mid-30s with sharp eyes that miss nothing and an expression that suggests she's seen every flavor of human terrible and isn't impressed by any of it. Dr. Whitmore? She shows me her badge. I'm Detective Ramirez with Fairfax County Police. Your attorney Margaret Chen contacted me about a situation. May I come in? I step aside, let her enter. She surveys my home with professional efficiency, noting exits, sight lines, the security cameras that are now very obviously mounted in corners. Nice system, she says, gesturing to a camera. Recent installation? Very recent. Margaret's suggestion. Smart woman. He pulls out a notebook. Why don't we sit down and you can walk me through everything? We settle at the kitchen table, the same table where I've eaten meals with Joshua, where we've discussed mundane things like grocery lists and Emma's report cards, where I had no idea I was sharing space with someone planning my murder. I start at the beginning. The celebration party. The small amber vial I saw Joshua pull from his jacket. The 3 drops he squeezed into my champagne. The way I switched glasses with Patricia. Her collapse. The hospital. The toxicology report. Detective Ramirez takes notes in efficient shorthand, her pen moving steadily across the page. She doesn't interrupt, doesn't gasp, doesn't express shock. She just listens with the focused attention of someone who's recording facts for later prosecution. When I get to the financial investigation, Joshua's debts, Patricia's foreclosure, Marcus's predatory loans, she nods like pieces are clicking into place. Motive, she says simply. Money's always a strong motive. How much are we talking? 17 million from the patent sale. Another 2 million in life insurance. About 19 million total if I die before updating my will. She writes that down, underlines it. And he can't access any of this if you divorce? No. Prenuptial agreement. Everything's separate property. But if you die? By current will leaves everything to him. Current will. Meaning you haven't changed it since the patent sale? Not yet. Margaret's drafting new documents now. Trust structures that exclude Joshua and Patricia by name. Detective Ramirez sets down her pen, looks at me directly. Dr. Whitmore, do you still have the champagne glass? The one Patricia drank from. I stand up, walk to my freezer and pull out the sealed evidence bag I've been storing like a specimen sample. Inside is my grandmother's chipped crystal flute, the liquid inside frozen solid. He actually smiles. It's brief, professional but genuine. You've been watching forensic shows. I'm a scientist, I reply. I document everything. She pulls latex gloves from her jacket pocket. Apparently detectives just carry these, and carefully examines the bag without opening it. This is good. Really good. We'll send this to the lab for analysis. If it's aconite like the hospital suggested and we can prove it came from your glass, we've got attempted murder. She seals it in an official evidence pouch from her car, labels it with case numbers and timestamps. Watching her work with such professional efficiency makes something loosen in my chest. Someone believes me. Someone with authority and resources believes me. What else do you have? She asks. I show her everything. Pull up the security footage on my laptop. Joshua at my filing cabinet photographing documents, the timestamp clear in the corner. The screenshots from the Honeypot website showing login attempts from our home IP address. The attempted wire transfer of $3,200 to Joshua's personal account. The timestamps matching within minutes of when he photographed the documents. Detective Ramirez watches the footage 3 times. On the 3rd viewing, she's making notes about specific details. The way Joshua checks over his shoulder, the methodical photography of each page, the satisfied expression when he's done. This is textbook fraud, she says. Wire fraud, identity theft, unauthorized access to financial accounts. Combined with the poisoning evidence, we're looking at multiple felonies. Attempted murder, conspiracy, financial exploitation. She pulls out her phone, makes a call. Hey, it's Ramirez. I need you to look at something. I'm sending video evidence of fraud in progress. Yeah, I'll hold. I hear muffled conversation on the other end, words I can't quite make out. Detective Ramirez describes what she's seeing, references case law I don't understand, speaks in the shorthand of law enforcement professionals coordinating a prosecution. When she hangs up, she looks at me with something resembling respect. That was the Fairfax County Prosecutor's Office. They're very interested in this case. Multiple charges, clear evidence, sympathetic victim. She pauses. Dr. Whitmore, you're not paranoid. You're prepared. And that preparation is probably why you're still alive. I don't know what to say to that, so I just nod. Here's what happens next, she continues, shifting into procedural mode. We'll get a warrant for Joshua's phone, his computer, his financial records. We'll execute it within 48 hours. We'll interview Patricia once she's fully recovered. The fact that she was accidentally poisoned adds elder abuse charges to Joshua's list. We'll subpoena records from his brother Marcus if those loans are connected to the conspiracy. How long until you arrest him? Depends on the lab results from the champagne glass. If they confirm aconite, we can move fast. If not, we build the case on the fraud charges and work backwards to the poisoning. She leans forward, her expression serious. But I need you to understand something. He's going to escalate. What do you mean? People like Joshua, people desperate enough to poison their spouse, they don't accept being caught until the handcuffs actually close. Right now he thinks he's getting away with it. He thinks that wire transfer just had a technical glitch, that he can try again, that he still has time to fix his plan. That makes him dangerous. My mouth goes dry. So what do? You follow very specific rules until we make the arrest. Don't eat or drink anything you didn't personally prepare and seal. Don't accept food from anyone in his family. Don't go anywhere alone with him. Always have Emma or a friend present. Keep your phone charged and on you at all times. If anything feels wrong, if he does anything suspicious, you call me immediately. She hands me a card with her direct number. I'm serious about this, Dr. Whitmore. You did everything right so far. Don't let your guard down now. Okay. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. And document everything. Every conversation, every interaction, every strange occurrence. You've been doing great with that. Keep it up. The more evidence we have, the stronger the case. She stands up and I walk her to the door. Before she leaves, she turns back. One more thing. Does Emma know what's happening? She knows something's wrong. She's a smart kid. She notices things. Keep her safe. If Joshua realizes he's been caught, if he panics. She doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. After Detective Ramirez leaves, I stand in my kitchen and let the reality sink in. I'm still living with a man who tried to kill me. He's probably at his brother's house right now, discussing loans or debts or whatever desperate men discuss when their plans fall apart. He'll be home for dinner. We'll eat together. Sleep in the same house. The arrest won't happen immediately. They need lab results, warrants, coordination between agencies. That means days, maybe a week, of maintaining this performance. Of acting like I don't know. Of pretending everything is normal while living with someone who wants me dead. I think about Emma about to come home from school, innocent and unaware that her stepfather is a threat. I think about all the meals we'll share, all the moments when I'll be vulnerable, all the opportunities Joshua will have to try again. And I make a decision right there in my kitchen, standing in the late morning light. I'm not leaving. This is my house. I bought it with my money. It's filled with my daughter and my work and my life. Joshua is the one who should be afraid. Joshua is the one who should be looking over his shoulder. Because every day he stays, every interaction we have, every word he speaks, it's all being documented, recorded, turned into evidence. He thinks he's living in his home waiting for another opportunity. What he's actually doing is giving me more ammunition to bury him with. I pull out my phone and open the Notes app. Start a new entry. Date, time, what Detective Ramirez said, what evidence she took, what happens next. Documentation. Evidence. Data collection. It's what I do best. And this time the experiment is going to end with Joshua in handcuffs. 3 days pass with agonizing slowness. 3 days of eating meals I personally prepared, of checking every beverage seal, of sleeping with my door locked and my phone under my pillow. 3 days of watching Joshua move through our house like everything is normal while I know Detective Ramirez is building her case, getting warrants, coordinating with prosecutors. On the third morning, Joshua announces over breakfast, I scheduled a meeting for us today. At a bank in McLean. Just some routine financial planning. I look up from my coffee. Financial planning. Yeah. Margaret suggested we review our estate documents. Make sure everything's properly structured now that the patent money's cleared. He says it casually like he's proposing we get the oil changed in my car. He's lying. Margaret suggested no such thing. And I know exactly what this meeting is really about because Margaret warned me yesterday that Joshua's been making calls to senior care facilities, asking about intake procedures and power of attorney requirements. Plan B. If the poison didn't work, if the fraud didn't work, try a different angle. Have me declared incompetent. Get me institutionalized. Control my medical decisions and finances legally instead of through murder. What time? I ask, my voice steady. 11. We should leave by 10:30 to beat traffic. Hey, let me just tell Emma I'll be out. I text Margaret from the bathroom. He's making his move. Meeting at bank in McLean at 11. I'm guessing this is the institutionalization play. Her response comes immediately. Perfect. We're ready. Detective Ramirez will be there. Just play along. Sign whatever I give you, nothing else. You got this. The bank is in a business complex off Route 7. All glass and steel, generic corporate architecture. Joshua parks in the visitor lot, and I notice his hands are shaking slightly as he turns off the ignition. You okay? I ask. Yeah. Just nervous. Big financial decisions, you know? We walk into the bank together. A receptionist directs us to a conference room on the second floor. And that's when I see them. Patricia's already there, sitting at the polished conference table. She's recovered from the poisoning, still looks fragile, thinner than before but alive. She gives me a weak smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Marcus is there too, Joshua's brother, the predatory lender. He nods at me with that practiced charm that barely conceals calculation. And there's a woman I don't recognize, maybe 50, wearing a cheerful lavender suit, with a leather portfolio and a smile that belongs on a real estate agent selling overpriced condos. Nicole. She stands, extends her hand. I'm Sandra Vance, Client Relations Director at Heritage Springs. It's so wonderful to meet you. Heritage Springs. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. This isn't a financial planning meeting. This is an intervention. An ambush designed to convince me I need care, while they seize control of my money and my life. It's actually brilliant in a horrifying way. If the poison didn't work, make me legally dead instead. Please sit. Sandra gestures to a chair. We have so much to discuss. Joshua sits beside me, puts his hand on my knee, supportive husband gesture. Patricia dabs at her eyes with a tissue she pulled from her purse. Marcus watches me with an expression I can't quite read. And I think, they have no idea what's about to happen. Sandra opens her portfolio, pulls out glossy brochures showing beautiful buildings that look like luxury resorts. Heritage Springs specializes in executive wellness and comprehensive care for high-achieving professionals experiencing transition-related stress. I'm not stressed, I say calmly. Joshua squeezes my knee. Nicole, you've been under enormous pressure. The patent sale, the media attention, the party incident with Mom. It's been traumatic. We're worried about you. We just want you to be safe, Patricia adds, her voice trembling. To have support. Professional support. Sandra slides a brochure across the table. Our facility offers personalized care plans, medical oversight, therapeutic programming, and a peaceful environment for recovery and rejuvenation. I flip through the brochure. Looks expensive. Very expensive. What does something like this cost? Our entry commitment is $400,000, with monthly fees of $12,000 for comprehensive services. $400,000. Exactly the kind of money Joshua needs to solve his immediate problems. And how would someone access this program? I ask, keeping my voice genuinely curious. Well, typically a family member helps coordinate the intake process. We require some basic paperwork. Medical power of attorney, financial authorization for payments, consent forms. She pulls out a stack of documents. It's all very straightforward. Joshua leans forward. We already started the paperwork, actually. We just need your signature to finalize everything. My signature, I repeat. Right. Just so we can get you enrolled, make sure you're taken care of. His voice is gentle, concerned, but I see the desperation in his eyes. The need for this to work. A bank employee enters. A manager based on his suit and demeanor. The Whitmore party? I'm David Chin, branch manager. I understand you need to process some financial transactions. Yes, Joshua says quickly. We need to transfer funds for a medical care facility. My wife's funds. We have power of attorney documents. Margaret enters the conference room so quietly I almost don't notice. She's carrying her briefcase, wearing her court suit, looking like she just happened to be in the neighborhood. Hello, everyone. Nicole, I got your message about the meeting. She sits down beside me, opens her briefcase. I brought the updated estate documents we discussed. The ones you wanted to review before signing anything else. Joshua's face goes pale. Margaret, I didn't know you were coming. Financial planning meetings require legal counsel. Standard practice. She pulls out a folder, forest green, identical to the one I left in my filing cabinet. Nicole, these are the actual power of attorney documents we prepared. They only grant authorization for account 7392. Nothing else. I take the documents, make a show of reviewing them. Then I sign. Hurry. Definitively. Witnessed by Margaret and David Chin. Perfect, I say, handing them back to Margaret. Now about this Heritage Springs enrollment. Joshua's practically vibrating with tension. Yes, we should process the deposit. $400,000 from Nicole's primary account. Sandra smiles, oblivious to the undercurrents. Wonderful. Once the deposit processes, we can schedule your intake evaluation and... Let me just verify the account details, David Chin says, typing on his laptop. Account ending in 7,392? Transferring 400,000. Yes, Joshua says. From Nicole's primary checking account. David types. Examines his screen. His professional expression doesn't waver. Perfect. That will transfer from account ending in 7392. Current balance, $50. The silence that follows is beautiful. Crystalline. Pure. Joshua's face goes completely blank, like his processor just crashed. Patricia's mouth opens but no sound comes out. Marcus's eyes dart between me and the door, calculating escape routes. Sandra looks confused. I'm sorry, did you say $50? That's correct, David confirms. Account 7392. Current balance, $50.12. Joshua's staring at me now. Really staring. And I watch understanding dawn across his face. The realization that I knew, that I've known all along, that every move he made was documented and anticipated. That's when the knock comes. Professional. Authoritative. 3 sharp raps on the glass conference room door. Detective Ramirez enters, flanked by 2 uniformed officers and a man in a dark suit with an FBI badge visible on his belt. She's holding papers. Official documents with federal seals. Joshua Whitmore? Her voice cuts through the stunned silence. Joshua stands up slowly, like he's moving through water. Yes. I'm Detective Maria Ramirez, Fairfax County Police. This is Special Agent Torres, FBI White Collar Crime Division. She steps forward and the uniformed officers move to flank Joshua. Joshua Whitmore, you are under arrest for attempted murder, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit financial elder abuse, and fraud against a financial institution. She continues with Miranda rights while one officer produces handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The handcuffs click shut around Joshua's wrists. The sound is final. Irreversible. Patricia starts crying. Real tears this time, not the performative kind she's been using our entire relationship. These are tears of shock and fear and the sudden understanding that everything is falling apart. Marcus is already on his phone, probably calling a criminal defense attorney. Sandra from Heritage Springs looks like she's trying to decide if she should leave or call her own lawyer. Joshua looks at me. His eyes are desperate, pleading, still trying to find an angle. Oh. Tell them this is a misunderstanding. Tell them I was trying to help you. Tell them. I stand up, take 2 steps toward him, close enough that only he can hear what I say next. I'm telling them everything, I say quietly. My voice is steady. Final. Every single thing. The poison you put in my champagne. The vial you pulled from your jacket. The fraud attempts. The fake documents you photographed. The wire transfer you tried to make. The conspiracy with your family to steal my money and have me institutionalized. I documented all of it, Joshua. Every bit. I let him see it then. Everything I've been hiding for days. The knowledge. The strategy. The complete awareness of every move he made. I saw you poison my drink, I continue. I switched the glasses. I watched you steal my documents on camera. I tracked your login attempts. I gave you fake account numbers and watched you try to steal from them. You didn't marry a victim, Joshua. You married a scientist who knows how to collect evidence. His face crumbles. Understanding hits him like physical force. You knew? The whole time. The whole time. The account. The documents. All of it was a trap. Yes. The officers start moving him toward the door. He tries to resist, pulls against their grip. Nicole, please. I can explain. I was desperate. The debts, the pressure, I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to buy poison. To plan my murder. To try multiple times to steal from me. Keep my voice level. You were thinking clearly enough to involve your mother and your brother in a conspiracy to have me declared incompetent. Patricia sobs harder. Marcus has gone silent, his phone pressed to his ear. As they lead Joshua toward the door, he looks back one more time. I loved you. No, I say. You loved my money. There's a difference. The door closes behind him. Through the glass, I watch the officers escort him through the bank lobby, past curious employees and customers, out to a police car waiting in the parking lot. That's when I feel it, a small hand slipping into mine. Emma. She's standing beside me and Margaret standing behind her with a protective hand on her shoulder. Mom. Emma's voice is small. Kitten. Is it over? I squeeze her hand and look down at my daughter. My brilliant, observant, brave daughter who witnessed her stepfather's arrest and somehow knew to be here for it. Yeah, baby, I say softly. It's over. But even as I say it, I know that's not entirely true. There will be trials, testimony, media coverage, lawyers and depositions and victim impact statements. But the danger is over. The threat is over. Joshua is in handcuffs and I'm standing here alive holding my daughter's hand, surrounded by evidence and witnesses and the machinery of justice finally moving in the right direction. Margaret touches my shoulder. You did good, Nicole. Really good. I nod, unable to speak past the tightness in my throat. Outside, through the bank's glass windows, I watch the police car pull away. And I let myself breathe. The police car disappears around the corner, taking Joshua with it. I stand at the bank's glass window watching until it's completely gone, and only then do I realize I'm still holding Emma's hand tight enough that she gently squeezes back. Mom, I'm okay, she says softly. I loosen my grip. Sorry, baby. Margaret guides us out of the bank, past the conference room where Sandra from Heritage Springs is still sitting in stunned silence, past the lobby where employees are trying very hard to pretend they weren't watching the arrest, out to the parking lot where the November air feels sharp and clean. What happens now? I ask Margaret. Now we wait for the trial. The prosecutor will be in touch. You'll need to give testimony, provide evidence, probably sit through some difficult proceedings. She pauses. But Nicole, the hard part is over. You're safe now. Safe. The word feels foreign. I've spent so many days being vigilant, being careful, being strategic. I'm not sure I remember what safe feels like. Emma climbs into my car without being asked. Margaret gives me a quick hug before heading to her own vehicle. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. On the drive home, Emma's quiet. Not scared quiet. Thinking quiet. Processing. You knew the whole time, didn't you? She finally asks. That Joshua tried to hurt you. There's no point lying to her. She's too smart and she deserves the truth. Yeah. I knew. And you didn't tell me. I didn't want to scare you. And I needed to keep you safe while I figured out how to stop him. She nods, accepting this. That's why you've been checking all the food seals. And sleeping in the guest room. And keeping me home from school sometimes. Yeah. That's really scary, Mom. I know, baby. I'm sorry you had to see any of this. I'm not. She looks at me and her expression is older than 12. I'm glad I saw what you did. How you protected us. How you didn't just give up or run away. You fought back. My throat tightens. Yeah. I did. You're like a superhero. Except real. I laughed despite everything. Superheroes don't need lawyers and security cameras. The smart ones do. The trial starts 6 weeks later, in February, when Virginia is gray and cold and the days are short. I spend those 6 weeks meeting with prosecutors, reviewing evidence, preparing testimony. Emma goes back to school. Life tries to return to normal, except nothing feels normal anymore. The trial itself is methodical, clinical. The prosecution builds their case brick by brick, piece of evidence after piece of evidence, until the weight of it is undeniable. They present the lab results first. The champagne glass I preserved contained aconitine. The active toxin in aconite, also called monkshood or wolf's bane. Highly toxic. Fast-acting. In the concentration found in that glass, potentially lethal. Then Joshua's search history, pulled from his laptop and phone. The prosecutor projects it on a screen for the jury to see. Aconite lethal dose human. How to disguise poison taste. Spousal inheritance laws Virginia. Undetectable poisons household. Can toxicology detect plant poison? The searches span 3 weeks before the party. Premeditation in digital form. They show the surveillance footage. Joshua at my filing cabinet photographing documents. The timestamp clear in the corner. The calculated way he checks over his shoulder. The systematic photography of each page. The fraud analyst testifies about the honeypot website. Shows the login attempts from our home IP address. The attempted wire transfer. The exact timestamp matching minutes after Joshua photographed the fake documents. My cognitive evaluation is entered as evidence. Dr. Feldman's report stating unequivocally that I have no cognitive impairment, no declining mental capacity, no condition that would justify conservatorship or institutionalization. Then Patricia testifies. She's been granted immunity in exchange for cooperation. She sits in the witness box looking smaller than I've ever seen her, and she tells the truth. About the family's financial desperation, about Joshua's mounting debts, about the conversations where they discussed how much easier everything would be if I weren't in the picture anymore. Did you know your son planned to poison Nicole? The prosecutor asks. No. Patricia's voice breaks. Not until after I woke up in the hospital and realized what must have happened. What he must have done. And did you participate in the plan to have Nicole institutionalized? A long pause. Then, yes. Joshua said if we couldn't, if the first plan didn't work, we needed another way. He said Nicole was becoming unstable, that she needed professional care. I believed him. Joshua's defense attorney tries to paint him as a loving husband concerned about his wife's mental health, driven to desperate measures by worry. But the evidence is overwhelming. The poison. The searches. The fraud. The conspiracy. The trial takes 6 weeks. I testify for 2 full days, walking the jury through everything I saw, everything I documented, every step I took to protect myself and build evidence. Joshua never takes the stand. His attorney advises against it. When the judge reads the verdict, guilty on all counts, I don't cheer. I don't cry. I just breathe. Deeply. For the first time in months, I feel like I can actually fill my lungs completely. Emma squeezes my hand. Margaret puts a supportive arm around my shoulders. Guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of wire fraud. Guilty of identity theft. Guilty of conspiracy to commit financial elder abuse. Guilty of fraud against a financial institution. The sentencing hearing is 2 weeks later. I submit a victim impact statement. Stand before the judge and explain what it's like to discover your husband is trying to kill you. What it's like to live in fear in your own home. What it's like to explain to your daughter why the person who was supposed to protect your family tried to destroy it. The judge sentences Joshua to 22 years in federal prison. Patricia gets 5 years probation and must pay restitution. The judge acknowledges she was also a victim of her son's poison, of her own desperation, of bad choices made under financial pressure. Marcus loses his lending license and faces separate federal charges for predatory lending practices that the investigation uncovered. I watch Joshua being led away in handcuffs one final time and I feel empty. Not triumphant. Not victorious. Just exhausted. Grateful to be alive, but exhausted from having to fight this hard just to survive someone who promised to love me. That night, Emma and I order pizza from the place she loves. We put on a movie, something light and silly about teenagers at summer camp, the kind of thing that requires zero emotional investment. Halfway through she says quietly, "Mom, you're really smart." "Thanks, baby." Like scary smart. I smile and pull her close on the couch. Only scary to people who try to hurt us. She laughs. We finish the movie. She goes to bed at a reasonable hour without the usual negotiations. And I sit alone in my office. The same office where I discovered the truth, built my defense, set my traps, and let myself feel everything I've been holding back for months. I think about the last 10 years with Joshua. Try to identify the exact moment when love turned to resentment, when partnership turned to predation. Was it always there, hidden beneath charm and affection? Or did something in him break when I became successful? I'll never know. And maybe it doesn't matter. What I know is that I survived. Emma survived. And we're going to be okay. I pull out a bottle of wine. One I personally opened earlier, one Emma helped me inspect before bed. It's become our ritual. Checking seals together, making security feel like bonding instead of paranoia. I pour a glass and walk to the window. Outside, the street is quiet, peaceful, safe. I raise the glass to the quiet house, to my daughter sleeping safely upstairs, to the future I almost didn't have. To poisoners with bad timing, I whisper. To documentation. To survival. I take a sip. The wine tastes like freedom, metallic and strange and infinitely precious. They thought my signature would bury me. That my success would be my downfall. That my trust would be my weakness. But in the end, their signatures buried them. Their greed destroyed them. And I'm still here. Still brilliant. Still breathing. Still building. Next week, contractors are coming to convert Joshua's former office into a proper research lab. Emma wants to help design it. We've already picked out paint colors. She wants one wall done in chalkboard paint so we can work through equations together. The $17 million is secure in trusts that will fund Emma's future, support water purification projects in communities that need them, and yes, let me live comfortably while I do work that matters. I didn't just survive an attempted murder. I survived betrayal by someone I loved. And I'm building something better from the ashes. That's not revenge. That's resurrection. I finish my wine, rinse the glass, and lock the doors. Upstairs, I check on Emma one more time. She's sprawled across her bed, blanket twisted around her legs, looking peaceful and young and safe. I go to my own room, not the guest room anymore, but the master bedroom that's mine now, just mine, and I sleep. For the first time in months, I sleep without fear. Without checking security cameras every hour. Without waking at every sound. Without wondering if this is the night he tries again. Because he can't try again. He's in a prison cell. And I'm here in my home, in my life, in my future. Free. The next morning, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the windows and Emma making pancakes in the kitchen. Badly, with more flour on the counter than in the bowl, and I realize something. This is what victory actually looks like. Not the courtroom verdict or the sentencing hearing. Not the arrest or the handcuffs. This. My daughter making breakfast. Sunlight in my home. A day stretching ahead with no fear. No performance. No pretending. Just life. Normal, messy, beautiful life. And it tastes sweeter than any revenge ever could. If this story of calculated justice had you holding your breath, smash that like button right now. My favorite part was when Nicole switched those champagne glasses and watched her plan unfold perfectly. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more gripping stories of survival and revenge. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.